Hi, I'm Quinn Wilkes, Central Sales Manager for Travis Industries. I'm going to take the next few minutes to introduce you to the new Lopi AGP Pellet Insert. We've spent over 20 years building high-quality pellet stoves here at Travis Industries. And your latest Lopi AGP Pellet Insert has the latest innovations and designs of any pellet stove on the market. I'm going to take a little time now and go through this stove and show you all of those design elements that make this the best pellet insert out there. At the top of the pellet stove is the hopper. If you open up the hopper, you'll see a series of labels inside, and this is where your fuel is going to go. You'd pour the pellets in here, and this hopper is able to handle at least 40 pounds of fuel, and depending on the height of your fireplace, you can adjust the hopper up to handle up to 70 pounds of pellets. The hopper lid is held open with a clever handle mechanism that holds it open so that you use both hands when loading the fuel in. Now on the back side here is a switch that gets pushed down. When the hopper lid's closed, it depresses that switch and allows the feed system to operate. If the hopper is left open, or if you overfill the hopper and it doesn't allow it to close all the way, then the feed mechanism will not work, your stove will not work. One of the unique features of your pellet stove is this large viewing area on the door itself. The door simply opens with a handle. Now, whenever the stove is in operation, the door needs to be closed and latched down. Below the door is an ash lip that catches any ash that may fall down, and then below it is the ash pan itself. One of the ways that the glass stays so clean on our new AGP pellet insert is we have a dual air wash. One is across the top and then along the bottom. That blows air up past the window, and it keeps that window clean and free from the fly ash or the debris from building up on it. When I mention fly ash, that's the fine debris that comes off whenever you burn a pellet stove. The fly ash will build up inside of the stove, and then most of it's going to drop down on the ash pan or down in the bottom of the stove. How you access the ash pan is this handle, turning it up from the 6 o'clock position up to the 9 o'clock position. Swing the door all the way open and then slide the ash pan out. We have a generous ash pan. It's over 3 inches deep, and the fuel, the fly ash, the dust will build up in here. Periodically, you're going to want to take this out. How often you take this out and dump it out is going to depend on what type of fuel or the quality of the fuel that you're burning. The pellets that burn inside of this stove are going to go up into the heat exchange tubes. One of the ways that we get the maximum efficiency is we have a small series of tubes that the room air blower blows air through and out into the room. Those tubes are what's called the heat exchange tubes. They're located at the ceiling of the firebox. Now, periodically, you're going to want to clean those tubes off. To do that, it's simply done by lifting up on the louvers and sliding the slider plate back and forth. Now this stove is not on, so I can grab hold of this handle, but we actually have a tool to use to do this when the stove is on. How often you're going to want to clean those tubes off or clean that fly ash is really dictated by, again, that quality of that fuel. Inside of the stove is a deflector that is in front of the burn platform. That deflector serves two purposes. One is to put back pressure on the fire to burn the fuel more completely, but also it keeps the fire directly away from the glass. It needs to be in place so that you don't have that fire on the glass, which helps keep the glass cleaner. You can easily remove the deflector from just pulling up. Now you can see the burn platform itself, and the burn platform can come out of the stove. The burn platform is an important part of the stove. It's designed with a 14-degree incline so that the fuel slows before it comes to the top or the edge of it. As new fuel comes in, it pushes out, and it pushes the ash out and any clinker out down into the ash pan. With the fire pot removed, what we've got left inside of here are the stainless steel baffle plates. I'm going to remove the baffle plates so I can show you completely how to do a maintenance on the stove where it would require maybe after a ton of pellets burned. With the baffle plates removed, I'll take the broom brush that comes with the appliance and I'll brush across the back walls and across the sides and brush all the fly ash down into the ash pan area. Now I'll take the bottle brush, which is also included with the appliance, and I'll go up through the inside passageways on either side. This is where the fly ash has gone up past the heat exchange tubes and dropped down the back side of this firebox chamber. That fly ash will drop down to the very bottom, and I'll remove the ports to show you how to access that. Once you've cleaned the inside of the stove with the bottle brush, then you remove these plates at the very bottom. And these plates will allow you to access that back portion where the fly ash should drop down to on either side. Now, if you look on the far right-hand side, you'll see a rear passageway. That's when your flue exhaust leaves the firebox, goes up past the heat exchanger, comes back down, and then it goes back to the outlet or the flue on the back of the stove. You're going to want to vacuum all of this out and vacuum back into that portion to get this stove thoroughly cleaned. As an overview for maintenance, you're going to want to possibly daily clean the heat exchange tubes out. Remember, the cleaner you keep those, the more heat you're going to get out into the room and the less fuel you're going to burn. Then you're also going to want to take your fire pot clean out tool and remove the clinker that builds up inside the fire pot. That may be once a day, it may be once a week. Once a month, I'd remove the baffle plates and clean the inside of the firebox and remove the ash pan and dump the ashes. On the right-hand side of the stove, you'll find an access door to the control panel itself. That's where your operation center is for your pellet stove. The control panel has 3 buttons and 2 adjustable knobs. That is the operation center for this appliance. The first button is the start button. If you walk up to a cold stove, make sure there's fuel in the hopper, push the start button, and the green light above it is going to blink off and on. As it goes through its starting sequence, the igniter behind the burn pot is going to ignite the fuel, and as it heats up that fuel, it's going to trigger a switch on the back of the stove that says stove is burning good and my appliance is now operational. When that light goes solid green, you know that that switch has been triggered and you've got a good functioning stove at that time. Below the start button is your heat control. That is an adjustable knob that goes from low to high and adjusts how much fuel is being fed into the stove. And the low setting is about 1.4 pounds per hour. On the high setting, it goes all the way up to about 5 pounds an hour, and that's where we get up to that 40,000 BTUs. Now below it is a fan control button. You can adjust your fan speed. As you increase the amount of fuel, you may want to get more airflow through the stove to keep that heat moving out into the room. As you slow that down, the fan slows down. So at a lower setting, you might want to run it on low. On a higher setting, you run the fan up on high. Now, if you want to avoid any of that, put it to the auto fan position. The light will come on, and now the fan will speed up and slow down with the amount of fuel that you're feeding into the stove. Now, if you go to turn the control board on and none of the lights work, there's a possibility you could have had a power surge or you don't have power to the appliance. One thing you want to check is that we've located the fuse directly below this. And the fuse, you want to access it by turning this with a standard screwdriver, turn it about 15 degrees, and it's spring loaded, it'll start to come out, pull that out, and now you've got a 5 amp 250 volt fuse, and you can check this or replace this. The T-stat button, what that does is that you have the option on this appliance to have a remote thermostat. If you depress the T-stat button following the instructions in the manual, it will then have the stove running in an operation to where the thermostat will turn the stove on and off depending on how much heat you need in the individual room that you're trying to heat. The thermostat will control the stove much in the same way that it does an average furnace system or home heating system. Above the thermostat button is the stop button. Anytime you want to shut down the appliance, push the stop button, the light will flash off and on, and when the stove cools off, stops producing heat, there's no more fuel inside of there, it'll automatically shut down the fans in the stove. We have a long tradition here at Travis Industries of building quality heating appliances. I want to thank you for purchasing the new AGP Lopi Pellet Insert, and I hope you have many, many years of wonderful use out of it. Thank you. The heart of any pellet stove is the feed system. What's truly unique about the new AGP is the way that the fuel feeds from the hopper to the burn platform. It's a horizontal auger, but above it is an ingenious disc design that controls the amount of fuel that gets to the auger and creates a buffer zone that won't allow any fuel to burn back up the auger and into the hopper. As the disc rotates at the base of the hopper, it opens up and drops the pellets to a drop zone, but not directly down onto the auger until the disc closes at the top and then opens at the bottom plate. As the auger continues to travel, it'll move the fuel down into the burn platform. As new fuel comes in, it pushes the ash out into the ash pan. This is a one-of-a-kind design for a one-of-a-kind stove.
Here in New England, the fireplace is the focal point of every home. At Dean's Stove and Spa, you can see Southern New England's largest display of high-performance fireplaces, over 200 in operation. Traditional or contemporary, small or large, new construction or fireplace replacement. If you like factory direct pricing, if you like sales, service, and installation all in one place, if you demand more than standard, then come to Dean's Stove and Spa in the Plantsville section of Southington.